Every person has experienced a moment they wish they could take back. A text sent in anger, a decision made in fear, a relationship damaged by pride, a dream abandoned because of self-doubt. And yet, when we look back on those moments, something becomes painfully clear. The emotion passed, but the consequences remained. This is one of the most important lessons life teaches us. Emotions are temporary. Their consequences are often not. And perhaps that is why learning to control your emotions is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Not because emotions are bad, but because emotions are powerful. Powerful enough to build your life, powerful enough to destroy it. The Stoics understood something that modern life constantly makes us forget. You do not control what happens to you. You control how you respond to it. That may sound simple, but it changes everything. Because most suffering comes from confusing those two things. We try to control people's opinions. We try to control the future. We try to control outcomes. We try to control whether people love us, respect us, choose us, understand us. And when reality refuses to cooperate, we become frustrated, anxious, angry, bitter, exhausted. Not because life is against us, but because we are demanding control where none exists. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And perhaps no sentence is more relevant today. Because we live in a world designed to provoke emotion. Every notification, every headline, every comment, every comparison, every disagreement. Someone is always trying to pull your attention and your emotions in a different direction. The question is, will you follow, or will you remain grounded? Most people believe emotional control means becoming emotionless. It doesn't. The Stoics were not statues. They felt grief, fear, love, anger, disappointment. The difference was that they refused to become servants to those emotions. Because there is a difference between feeling anger and obeying anger. There is a difference between feeling fear and surrendering to fear. There is a difference between feeling sadness and building your identity around sadness. You are not your emotions. You experience them, but you are not them. And the moment you understand that, something powerful happens. You create distance. Distance between feeling and action. Distance between impulse and decision. Distance between the storm and the person experiencing it. And in that distance, wisdom appears. Think about how many regrets begin with the phrase, "I was emotional. I was angry. I was hurt. I was scared. I was frustrated. I wasn't thinking clearly." Exactly. Emotion became the driver, and reason became the passenger. The ancient philosophers warned against this, not because emotions are evil, but because emotions see only the present moment. Reason sees the future. Anger wants revenge. Reason sees consequences. Fear wants safety. Reason sees opportunity. Pride wants to win. Reason sees relationships. Emotion sees the immediate. Wisdom sees the whole picture. And the person who learns to pause before reacting gains a tremendous advantage in life. Because most people never pause. They react immediately. Someone insults them, they respond. Someone criticizes them, they defend themselves. Someone rejects them, they spiral. Someone disagrees with them, they become hostile. Their emotions pull the strings, and they call it authenticity. But reacting is not authenticity. It is impulsiveness. Real strength is being able to feel everything without being controlled by everything. This becomes especially important when we talk about anger. Anger is one of the most destructive emotions because it feels powerful. When you're angry, you feel certain, you feel justified, you feel right. But anger has a habit of shrinking your perspective. It convinces you that the current moment is all that matters. It whispers, "Say it, do it, get even." And then, when the anger leaves, you are left cleaning up the damage, the damaged friendship, the broken trust, the lost opportunity, the regret. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, described anger as temporary madness, because in many ways it is. The angry mind sees a different reality, a distorted reality. And that is why emotionally intelligent people do not trust themselves completely when they are angry. They wait, they breathe, they create distance. Because they understand that today's anger may become tomorrow's regret. But anger is not the only emotion that quietly controls people. Fear may be even more dangerous, because anger makes noise. Fear whispers. Fear convinces people not to try, not to apply, not to speak, not to leave, not to begin.
Fear doesn't always destroy lives dramatically. Sometimes it destroys them quietly, through hesitation, through avoidance, through delay. People often imagine fear as panic, but more often, fear looks like procrastination, comfort, excuses, waiting for the perfect moment. And years pass this way, entire lives pass this way. Not because people lacked talent, but because fear disguised itself as caution. The philosopher Epictetus understood that much of what people fear never happens, and yet they suffer anyway, not from reality, but from imagination. Think about how many times you have suffered over something that never happened. A conversation, a future event, a possibility, a worst-case scenario. Your body reacted as though the threat was real. Your mind replayed it repeatedly. You lost sleep, lost peace, lost energy. And then, nothing happened. This is the tragedy of uncontrolled anxiety. It forces people to experience pain twice. Once in imagination, and once in reality, if reality ever arrives. That is why the Stoics constantly returned to the present moment, because reality exists here, not in the catastrophe your mind invented, not in the argument you replayed 50 times, not in the future you cannot predict. Here, now. And most of the time, the present moment is manageable. It is the stories we tell ourselves that become overwhelming. Carl Jung believed that what remains unconscious controls us. And perhaps this is especially true with emotions. Many people believe they are making rational decisions, but underneath those decisions are hidden emotions. A fear of rejection, a need for approval, a resentment they never addressed, an insecurity they never healed. These emotions operate beneath the surface, influencing behavior, influencing relationships, influencing life choices. And because people never examine them, they remain trapped by them. This is why self-awareness matters, because what you do not understand will eventually control you. A person who understands their anger gains power over it. A person who understands their fear gains freedom from it. A person who understands their insecurity becomes harder to manipulate. Awareness creates choice, and choice creates freedom. Without awareness, there is only reaction. This is also why overthinking is such a dangerous habit. Many people believe overthinking is intelligence. It is not. Often it is fear wearing the mask of analysis. The overthinker rarely finds certainty. They simply find new things to worry about, new possibilities, new doubts, new reasons not to act. Meanwhile, life continues moving forward. The opportunities disappear. The moments pass, the years accumulate, and eventually the person realizes they spent more time thinking about life than living it. The answer is not to stop thinking. The answer is to stop worshipping thought. Because not every thought deserves attention. Not every emotion deserves obedience. Not every fear
deserves belief. One of the greatest skills you can develop is learning to observe your mind without immediately agreeing with it. A thought appears, you notice it. An emotion appears, you notice it. You become the observer rather than the prisoner. This is where real emotional mastery begins, not when emotions disappear, but when they lose their authority. Because life will always contain uncertainty, disappointment, loss, failure, rejection. No philosophy can remove these things. No mindset can eliminate them. The goal is not to avoid storms. The goal is to become strong enough to endure them. And that is what emotional control truly means. Not becoming emotionless, becoming stable. Like a deep river. The surface may move, the current may shift, the wind may disturb the water, but deep below the surface, there is calm, there is stillness, there is strength. That strength is available to every person, but it requires practice, it requires patience, it requires awareness, and, most importantly, it requires responsibility. Because eventually, every person must decide, will I allow temporary emotions to dictate my life, or will I learn from them without surrendering to them? That choice shapes everything. Your relationships, your decisions, your peace, your future. Control your emotions before they control you. Not by suppressing them, not by fearing them, but by understanding them deeply enough that they no longer determine the direction of your life. And if this reflection spoke to you, subscribe to Still Wisdom, a place for people learning how to think clearly, live intentionally, and find peace in a noisy world.